Good afternoon and welcome. We are excited that you have taken time out of your day to learn about a great program offering we have, our Master of Science in Organizational Leadership. My name is Lucy Pagan, and I am the Director of Admissions for Northwood University's DeVos Graduate School of Management. My staff and I are dedicated to guiding you throughout the admissions process. Our agenda for today is as follows. Our mission and purpose at Northwood University, organizational leadership, the what and why this program is important and relevant today. We will share an overview of the MSOL program and its highlights. You'll also hear from one of our awesome alumni. We will talk a little bit about the admissions process and then wrap up with any questions. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Matt O'Connor, Assistant Professor here at DeVos. Matt has over a decade of experience as a strategy, marketing, and research consultant for major corporations like Nestle, Keurig, Dow Chemical, and John Deere. In addition, he collaborates with high-growth small and medium businesses across the U.S. through his team leader role at the National Center for Economic Gardening Intelligence, an economic development nonprofit providing innovation and related market research and competitive intelligence. Matt is also the founder of the leadership training and development firm Growth Core Leadership. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Lucy, for the introduction. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your day to learn about our program. We're super excited to have you here. Like Lucy said, Matt O'Connor, I'm a faculty member at DeVos. I teach in the MSOL program. I teach in our other programs as well. I'm also what we call a program quality leader for the Masters in Science and Organizational Leadership. So it's a program that is near and dear to my heart, and I'm always excited to share it with potential students who might be interested. I think it's important before we jump into the MSOL specifically just to set the context a little bit, because if you're familiar with Northwood University and who we are, what's on the screen here, our mission and purpose should be familiar to you. If you're not familiar with Northwood, our mission statement is to develop the future leaders of a global free enterprise society. That's a really strong and focused mission statement. And what stands out about it and why I think we're talking about it here as part of the MSOL is that you can see that leadership development, a global free enterprise society, these concepts are embedded in the fabric of the university. It's in our DNA. So we focus quite a bit on leadership, and the MSOL program is directly connected. It's a mission-centric program here at the university. We take a tremendous amount of care and expertise in crafting it, and it's something that we're incredibly excited about. So as we move through the conversation here today, feel free to ask questions or chime in. The MSOL program, just to set it kind of broadly, in this first bullet point here, is really our own mission statement for the program, although it's not a formal mission statement. But the program and the philosophy behind it is to design, it was designed to kind of accelerate growth and development of motivated professionals who operate in dynamic and complex organizational environments. So that's kind of a lot. But it's important to understand that I think for the MSOL, we focus quite a bit, and I'm going to talk through the program as we move through it, on the individual aspects of leadership, the concept of leadership, the complexities of leadership, but also how that applies to organizations. And that's reflected in the title of the program. It's an organizational leadership program. So we try to integrate a variety of different perspectives through the program to give our graduates a really kind of holistic understanding of the challenges and the opportunities that contemporary leaders face. And we do this through a number of ways. Like I mentioned, it's a mission critical program. We have a number of faculty members who specialize in this area, but most importantly, the demand for these types of degrees, the demand just broadly for leaders in organizations who are influential, who are capable, who are able to operate on multiple levels in an organization is always there. The demand's always high for folks who can understand and integrate concepts like strategy and culture and innovation as they relate to contemporary organizations. And that's why we're really excited about the program and have been for the past, I think, perhaps 10 years or so since it's been in existence. So the program, if you're out there and you're considering it, it's ideal for professionals who are eager and hungry to expand their leadership knowledge, skills, and capabilities in a way, and this is kind of important, in a way that drives their own personal success, but then also the success of the organizations that they're working in or will be working in down the road. So we try to capture a number of different outcomes or approaches to leadership in a way that benefits multiple stakeholders. And that's one of the reasons why I think the program is unique in that regard. So, if you're considering a degree such as this, a leadership degree at the graduate level, you're probably asking yourself, why our degree? Why the DeVos MSOL? And there's a lot of different ways to answer that question. I think from my perspective, there's the nuts and bolts of it. So the program outcomes, this is something internal to us as an institution. It's how we measure the program. It's how we track its progress. And when we talk about program outcomes, we're talking about the proficiency that we expect in our graduates. So if you go through this program, you can expect to be proficient and capable in a number of these areas, if not all of them, ranging from broad leadership processes, so not just leadership within an individual context as a person, but as a concept that kind of permeates the entire organization. It's important to capture that. Measurement is key, and these will make more sense when I talk about the courses here in a minute. Measurement, transformation and change, communication, and innovation and technology. The combination of those outcomes is a really kind of robust portfolio of capabilities that our graduates are armed with as they either continue in their careers or change careers or are moving up the ladder in their organization. So that's kind of what you would get if you graduate and why you would want to choose our program. I'll speak a little bit about the learning environment because I'm a faculty here, I'm a professor, I'm an instructor, and we take a lot of pride in cultivating a collection of faculty members who are not only experts in their particular field or discipline academically, but also have real world practical experience. And that's important for us as an institution and as a graduate school to merge that theory and practice in a way because we think that's where the real value comes in organizations is are folks that can think about concepts, apply them, learn, apply again, that sort of model. And we look for that in our faculty members and we look for that in our students. And that's how we kind of design and construct the program in many ways. But I think the most important reason why you would be interested in this particular program has got to be the curriculum itself and the courses. And we'll talk about that in a second. The program is designed to be integrated, it's holistic, it emphasizes core leadership skills with an applied mindset focused on organizational challenges and opportunities. So that's a fancy way of saying that the program is designed to not only help leaders develop and grow, but also to help them be influential and to take action. So it's not just on paper, it's actually following through with actions in the process, and the combination of those two through our curriculum I think makes it stand out quite a bit from the crowd and increasingly or more relevant today than even 2 or 3 years ago. These programs, given what we've been through in 2020, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but leadership programs and ours in particular, I think present a perspective that is always relevant and will always be valuable to organizations. We spend a lot of time studying our program, perfecting it, changing it, modifying it, because the relevance is so important to the market. So we take a lot of pride in crafting a program that is successful and valuable and hits on the objectives that we want to. But it's one thing to take it from me, someone who's in the program, who teaches in it. We have a quote up here from another alum of the program, a woman named Karen from next year. And I chose this quote because it's specifically about the courses itself. And there's some key words in here. She talks about the program reshaping the way that she thought about leadership, and it heightened her state of organizational awareness and connects that directly to the courses. And I think that's important because That to me is a key learning and outcome of a program like this, that you should graduate from our program with a heightened mindset about the potential for leadership, the complexities of it, and how you can leverage all of the different facets of it to be successful and influential in organization. So that's a bit of a testimonial. We'll talk more as we go through it. Up here on the screen, so this is the program itself, if you're wondering. So instead of just listing the courses on a page, we thought we'd kind of present them in a graphic form. So the program, the MSOL itself, is 10 courses. Well, it's 9 classes. You can see those classes going around the external circle, and then the dead center is your capstone project, which counts as a class, your 10th class. That's something we're really excited about, and that's been incredibly valuable for students as they work through the program. It gives them a chance to apply and practice things that they've learned in a real organization, working with a faculty member in an independent study format for an entire semester on a course. And that's been proven to be incredibly valuable. And our alumni that we have here on the call today, Teresa Hurley, is fantastic. I worked with her on her capstone project, and it was a tremendous experience. But before we even get to that point, I mean, there's a number of courses that students take, right? You take 9 classes in a various sequence. But what's interesting to mention is that when we think about the mission or the objective, it's this idea of integrated leadership in a complex and dynamic world. And I think that last part is particularly important in why our program is continually relevant. If you just flash back to a year ago, and where we were as a world compared to where we are now, you can see tactical, tangible, strategic implications of the past year in each of these courses, and our students are applying and learning how some of these things are affecting organizations. So on the right-hand side of this image, you'll see some traditional leadership-related concepts. So at the very top, there's an organizational leadership class. That's your foundational class, your principles class. You'll learn about the theories, the complexities behind it. One item that's come up, if you think about how COVID has changed organizations over the past year, leaders who are parts of organizations have been dealing with different emotions or feelings in their employees that they probably haven't had to deal with as extensively or intensely as they have. Anxiety's been high, apprehension's been high about returning to the office. And as we evolve, and COVID tends to change, you'll see enthusiasm, energy, excitement start to permeate organizations. And those are newer developments that leaders need to be tuned into and capitalize on in some way in their organization. And as I work around the side of the diagram here, culture is a tremendously valuable course and concept. Right off the top of my head, when organizations went virtual last year, there was a lot of discussion about how their organizational cultures, how work gets done in those places, would replicate or not in a virtual world, or did it change in some form? Organizational transformation, organizational communication, those types of concepts were directly affected by COVID in some way. So this program is capitalizing on really kind of relevant and current issues in organizations from a leadership perspective. As you work your way kind of down clockwise through this diagram and you come to the bottom, you'll see sort of what we call an environmental perspective. So the external view. As a leader, you can't try not to have a lot of blind spots. So if you're aware of blind spots, you need to mitigate them in some way. So when you think about expanding your sphere of perspectives, you have to look at organizations globally. You have to look at the legal environment. When I think of the legal environment as an organizational leader or someone who's running an organization, I think about issues related to return to work, health and safety protocols at organizations. These are things that are relevant and emerging throughout the course of our program and in our in our society at the moment. And we combine that leadership perspective, that environmental perspective, with a really robust organizational look at leadership. So strategy, innovation, and measurement are three concepts and courses in this program that are integral to almost every organization of every kind. Every organization has a strategy of some form. Every organization has a competitive position out there in the market. And as leaders, we're responsible for managing those, understanding them, leveraging them, using technology. Think about how we've used technology over the past year and how it's allowed us to innovate, not just with our products or services, but processes in general. So that's evolved too. And then a course that's essential is measurement. So how are you doing? Are you making progress? Are you tracking well, quantitatively, qualitatively? Is your organization hitting benchmarks? So when you step back and look at this program, you can see that it would prepare students to be complete, arguably close to complete, right? Capable leaders that have a broad perspective of the different facets and complexities that go into organizational leadership from a variety of different angles. And that's never, in my mind, never been more relevant than it is right now in just how complex and dynamic our world is at the moment, and most likely will continue to be. So those are the 10 courses that you would take as part of the MSOL, including the capstone, which is also a topic of your choosing. And so along those lines, I think it's a nice time to introduce our Alumni Spotlight, Teresa Hurley. So Teresa was an MSOL grad in 2017. I had the pleasure of working with her on her capstone project. It was an amazing experience. Teresa is the Director of Development for the Catholic Charities of Shiawassee and Genesee counties here in Michigan. I can speak from experience. Teresa is sharp, she's innovative, she's business-minded with a broad range of capabilities: marketing, communications, analytics, team building, problem resolution across the board. Teresa has a tremendous track record of combining leadership with organizational initiatives like strategy and decision-making to help achieve objectives. Teresa is the perfect alum to talk a little bit about the program and her experience. So I'm going to stop sharing here for a moment, and we're going to bring Teresa on screen. Let's see. Okay, Teresa, are you there?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to be here. And you just, you resold me on the whole program, I'll tell you, because you just spoke my language over and over. So perfect. Perfect.
So, could you share just a little bit about, why you chose the MSOL, why you chose DeVos's MSOL, what your experience was like, just to get us started?
Absolutely. So for me, MSOL, the leadership component, was really, really important to me. I graduated with an undergrad in organizational communications. This seemed like the perfect segue to the next step in my life and my career. And I had made a conscious choice to choose nonprofit as my life goal. And I'd been doing it for over 20 years. But one of the things that was noticeably absent was leadership, in how they build, how they do problem resolution, build their culture, how they communicate with their staff. It just seemed like that was just noticeably absent everywhere I went. And since my end goal is to be a CEO someday of a nonprofit, I felt like this was really a perfect way to sharpen those skills and to get better at what I was already kind of had the great basis for. The other part of that was I was a single mom at the time. I had 2 kids in high school. I love the fact that, you had the 10 courses and they were laid out for you, and it was just an easy going around. And I knew that after 2 years, my commitment from January until the following December, I knew I would be done. And it was checking that bucket list, that thing off my bucket list, and I felt really good about just sticking with it, even when I felt like, gosh, can I do this? I'm really having a hard time managing. It worked. As for the program too, one of the things that I loved about it was that even though I had a lot of the skill set, I felt like those courses really expanded on showing me other opportunities and other ways to handle situations. And it also introduced me to things that I'd never had before. Like we covered statistics, we covered human resources, we covered some of the law. And those were things that I hadn't really given a whole lot of consideration to until I was in the program. And then it was like, wow, this really does really come together as one full package. And then, of course, I live in Michigan. Northwood was one of my choices for my undergrad. I opted to stay more local to home. And so it just seemed like a perfect fit for me to choose Northwood.
Wow. Thank you so much.
That's wonderful, Teresa. And I think for a lot of students, it's just nice to hear from a alumni or a student's perspective that it is something that they can do, being that you have your own personal commitments, but you're also trying to have these professional
Absolutely.
So was there a moment where, obviously Matt talked a lot about leadership and how it's relevant today, but was there ever a moment for you where you just felt like things just clicked and maybe it changed your outlook as to how leadership is handled or how just communication is handled within your organization?
Absolutely. And in what point that was, I don't know. I do know it was early on, and the more I started taking courses, the more those pieces to that puzzle fit in. But what was and still is amazing to me about this program, and it's been beneficial to me in my career, is learning how to combine that business strategy with leadership style. And so when you think of yourself as a leader, you're really thinking yourself, you might want to put yourself into a little funnel, and it's really not about you. It's about adapting to your employees. It's about adapting to your audience. And that's what's really important. And that's what was taught to me during this program. So that was one of the huge pieces that came together. And then also studying how other businesses, like we looked at Amazon, we looked at Coca-Cola, we were forced to look at a local organization in our own community and really try to figure out what caused them to be successful or in what caused them to not be successful. I don't want to say failure, but they weren't as high on the chart as they could have been had they done things differently. And so I think that skill set is something that I'm able to take away now, and I'm able to implement in my current position, and I'm able to identify key moments that can alter the direction of a company if it's not done just right.
And that kind of segues into my last question, I guess. Now that you graduated, is there anything specific that you've been able to implement or just your takeaway that's really impacted your career from this program?
Oh, absolutely. So as Matt said, he was my professor during my capstone, and I have to tell you that whole idea scared me. It's a huge obligation. It's your end, you're graduating with that. But ironically for me, the summer before I was to graduate, I lost my job with a national nonprofit, and I'm talking a huge organization. And I had been with them for 7 years. I had met the benchmark that they set up for me, but yet I was one of the ones that was in the latest downsize. And as I saw this happening, I could see things that just seemed really off track. And not once did any of the management ever take the time to come to us, the feet on the ground, and really ask us, what are we seeing? What do you think is causing this problem? So I ended up choosing that company as my capstone subject. And like I said, it originally intimidated me to really dig deep into it, but it was a brilliant topic because I was able to clearly identify the mistakes the CEO, upper management made to cause the downward spiral. And ending my MSOL on a subject that was personal was also very helpful because I was able to justify my questions and justify my, what are you doing? With valid answers in solutions that really could have prevented it all from happening in the first place. So now as I see myself as a director of fund development, I am being mentored by the current CEO, and by early 2022, I'm going to have that position, and I'm just super excited to know that everything that I've learned through this and my life experience has really brought me to this position.
We thank you so much, Teresa. You've done so many great things, and we look forward to the success that you're going to continue to have with your organization. So thank you for being able to candidly share about your experiences with us today. Thank you. But Matt, if you don't mind bringing back the PowerPoint, we'll just recap the rest of the specifics on this program as well as some admissions process. So as Teresa mentioned, it was a dedicated 24 months of her time. And we do know that while this is intended to be within a 24-month time frame, we can work with you if potentially we know life happens and that you may need to extend it a little bit longer. We are here to make it flexible for you and make this a degree that you will complete. It is 30 credit hours, as Matt mentioned. That's 9 core courses with that capstone project that you'll do at the very end. This is currently offered online, so you can do that in the comfort of your home. If you're international, if you're on vacation, you can be able to still do your courses and participate in the classes. The program does start every 3 semesters, so we do offer this in a fall setting, our next start being in August, as well as spring, which is our January timeframe, and our summer timeframe is in May. You'll go to the next one here. The educational investment, a lot of people want to know what is the cost of this. Currently, the 2021 and 2022 MSOL tuition is $825 per credit hour, as there are a total of 30 credit hours. There's the breakdown that you see there. So roughly you're looking at about an investment of $25,000 towards this program. Now I say potentially $25,000. That's just because it does not include the books and materials. But we do work with you to be able to put you in contact with maybe used books, or just there's so many resources now that you're able to get the materials that you need for a lesser cost. With this program, it is potentially that you might get tuition benefits, tuition assistance from your employer. So that could also help reduce the cost for you out of pocket. You'll go to the next one. And the admissions process, as I mentioned, we have 3 different starts for this program. Our next one being this summer semester, so there is still time. We are still accepting applications, and that would be for a May 17th start, as well as our fall start is August 23rd. What we ask for you, if you're applying, is to complete an application that is at apply.northwood.edu. We ask that you submit a resume or a CV showing your education and professional experiences, as well as provide official transcripts from all undergraduate coursework, all institutions attended. We do calculate on a cumulative GPA for this program. The minimum requirement is a 3.0. However, if you may not have met that requirement, we may ask you for some supplemental documentation, such as the writing sample, as well as a graduate interview for this program. And just to let you know, the MSOL is not the only program that we offer at DeVos Graduate School. We do have other master's degree and now our doctorate of business administration that we offer. All of our programs are in a flexible class format. They are 8-week courses, so you're taking 1 course at a time. We have those capstone projects, which really help you to apply your learnings directly to possibly your own organization or another organization. You have your dedicated graduate advisor that will help you along the way. There are some scholarships available for our master level programs, at this time not for the doctorate programs. And then also there is no GMAT or GRE requirement for admission into our programs. As I mentioned, the next start is for May 17th for the summer, as well as August 23rd. So we're kind of at the bottom of this webinar here, time-wise, and I just wanted to share my contact information with you. If you are interested in this program, please feel free to contact us. I just wanted to make sure if there was any questions in the chat here. So we do have a question for Teresa about how many hours a week did you spend on the program? If you can let us know from your perspective.
Sure. It varied, to be honest. I would say, to be safe, you want to allow yourself at least 6 hours, 6 to 10 hours. I'm not going to lie, there were times when papers were due and that would take a little bit more time. But I would say, to be safe, I would definitely count on 10. And you'd be surprised at where you can fit it in. I'm going to be totally honest with that. I sat in my kids' gym waiting for them to play a sport, and I had my computer and I was doing my stuff. So you make it work wherever you are.
I agree. As being a graduate also of our MBA program, it can be done. You just really have to manage your time very well. So someone else asked, and kind of a little bit similar to this, can someone share the cost of the program, which I believe we did share. That's $825 a credit hour, so roughly about that $25,000 is what you're looking at. And then an example of how those 10 courses might be scheduled out over the program for someone working full-time and attending the program part-time. So with our programs, they are considered full-time, and that's for financial aid purposes. It is considered full-time, even though it may seem that you're only doing part-time because you're taking one class per 8 weeks. How it's scheduled out, as they are 8-week courses, is you're taking 2 courses in fall, 2 courses in spring, and 1 course in the summer. So that's the first year, that's what the layout looks like. It could be, that's the 5 classes. So then if we repeat it for the second year, so that you're completing it in the 24-month time frame, it's 2, 2, and 1. If you're starting in the spring, then you're taking 2, 1, and 2. If you're starting this summer, it's 1, 2, 2, and then it will repeat, right, for that cycle. But again, as I mentioned, we want to work with you. We want to make this something that you'll be successful at. And if it is a matter of, you know, your job changes, your situation changes, and you need to maybe take 8 weeks off, that's okay. We'll work with you to get you back on track and complete it in a timely manner. With their programs, we just want to make sure that the student completes it within a 5-year time frame. But honestly, as probably Teresa can attest to, you want to make sure that once you're really in the program and you start connecting with the rest of your classmates, you know, they will keep you accountable, and I think that you will find yourself really wanting to just complete it in a good time frame. So I hope that answers all of the questions. I will just double check if there's anything else. But as I mentioned, if you are interested in this program or any of the other programs, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Again, thank you to Teresa and Matt for joining us today and sharing information on the Master of Science in Organizational Leadership program. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.